Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Four Tracks Good. In this episode, Neil and I make the trip to Stockport, which is a town in Cheshire, just south of Manchester, where we visited a trio of musical venues and quite a variety there, wasn't there, Neil?
Yeah, as people hopefully will see, they were all quite different. It's got a musical heritage that people probably don't quite appreciate, actually. And I think it's very easy for people just to be dragged to only think about music in this area in Manchester. But Stockport's got a proud tradition of its own, and that, of course, includes its suburbs. Where I live in a suburb of Stockport, and as I have bored people many times before in this podcast, Cheelhoon, Bramall, part of Stockport have got their own contribution to musical history. That's worryingly sometimes subsumed into the history of other areas. But I'm going to move on from that because I'm an adult, and I think I know it's pantomime season, but I think there isn't actually anybody behind me. It's just this rather sinister looking shadow, and it's because the light above me has only got one bulb in it, and I need to. It's been on my list for ages, but not on it long enough for me to do something about. So, I'll change it when it goes and it's completely dark in here. But that's what it is. If anybody's slightly worried or thinks it's rather Hitchcockian, there is this figure behind me. It's not. It's just my shadow. And we get on quite well. So.
I think it works well, Neil. It could catch on in the podcasting community who's into this fancy lighting, but you're setting a new trend with your shadowy background.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we should have a look at the film, and then we'll have a quick chat about it. So here it is. Yeah.
Well, hello everybody. Neil and I have made another trip out, treated ourselves to a trip to the town of Stockport in Cheshire, which is about 10 minutes train ride from Manchester.
Yes, indeed.
To a look around here. And Stockport's got a history of hatting industry, hasn't it?
It is. And the Hat Museum is one where I think if you're looking for something to do on a bored Sunday afternoon, take the kids, it's worth having a look at. Look at the history of Stockport and hat manufacture. Kangol hats, I believe, were produced here. And indeed, a little known fact, my wife's father worked for a hat company, Christie's in Stockport as well.
So you seem very knowledgeable. In fact, it's the only hat museum in the country, I believe.
No way.
So I'm led to believe.
I'm surprised and disappointed.
Right. But we're not here to go to the Hat Museum.
Sadly
unless
somebody
not. Told me.
No, I'll have to see.
You haven't told me much about your hatting knowledge. But we're not.
We're not here. We are here to visit some of Stockport's great record stores and to have a look at one of the most iconic studios in the Northwest, Strawberry Studios, here in Stockport.
Yeah. Once referred to as the Abbey Road Studios of the North. So
yeah, that's probably stretching it a little bit, but lots and lots of bands recorded here, and indeed including Paul McCartney. So maybe that title was well deserved.
Maybe. Well, we're just on the approach to Strawberry Studios, not far up this steep hill. Yeah, just avoid the bus stop.
Yeah, indeed.
And this is handily placed in the centre of Stockport. If you fancy a visit.
Yeah.
No longer a studio, obviously, closed some time ago.
Yeah. I think 10cc owned it. They sold it, I think, in the 1980s. Another outfit bought it, and they closed this and its counterpart, Strawberry South, in 1993. Very sad.
Let's go have a look.
The chances are, if you've listened to any popular music from the 1970s, especially by any acts who are from the Northwest, that music will have been produced here at Strawberry Studios in Stockport. Founded in 1968, it eventually fell into the ownership of 10cc, who used it as their own home recording studio, but also to carve out a career as producers in their own right. There can't be many recording studios which have seen artists as diverse as Neil Sedaka and Joy Division recording them. Neil Sedaka recorded 2 of his comeback albums here in the early 1970s, including his big hit Love Will Keep Us Together. It's ironic that one of the latest hits to be recorded here was by Joy Division, Love Will Tear Us Apart, produced of course by Martin Hannett. As well as Joy Division and Neil Sedaka, it's also featured such musical legends as Paul McCartney, Wayne Fontana and the Mindbenders, 10cc themselves of course, and as you can probably tell from the plaque when we have a look at that, the Stone Roses also recorded here, and New Order as well. It is very much an institution in Stockport, even though it has long since served to act as a recording studio. They do occasional tours, so it's well worth having a look out and trying to book yourself onto a tour of Strawberry Studios.
Hello. Well, we're outside All Night Flight Records in Stockport. It's an independent record store. Neil and I have just been in and made a couple of purchases and had a good chat with the owner, Tom, who's been running the store for about 5 years now. Started in his bedroom selling records online and still does. But this is an amazing little store, probably on the left field of music, quite experimental, electronic, global music in there, but so much good stuff. And Tom's more than happy for you to try the vinyl out before you buy, have a listen. He's got a great sound system. And yeah, I'd encourage you to get down to All Night Flight Records in Stockport. Well, hello, we're in Ōdiobā in Stockport, and I'm pleased to be joined by Nam, who runs the place. I'm going to answer a few questions. Just enjoyed an absolutely delicious coffee upstairs, listening to your sound system. I just wondered if you could give us a bit of background how you arrived at the place and the concept behind.
So I was introduced to hi-fi at quite a young age. My siblings are all quite a bit older than I am. I'm one of 7, and I'm youngest by 10 years. So my eldest sister, her husband, he's the one that got the whole family into hi-fi, I guess, and he's a hi-fi head himself. So when I was growing up in our family home, we had Mission speakers, a Mission sort of hi-fi setup, which he chose. And then when I went to university, my departing gift was a Cambridge audio amplifier with some Rogers speakers. Yeah, so it's always been there. Yeah. But I never really knew of sort of the listening bar concept until a friend of mine who owns one down in London called Brilliant Corners. I went to university with him and I saw him do that. and it was successful. I was like, bloody hell, I can make a job from a hobby to a certain extent. So we reached out to Brilliant Corners, and they helped us sort of bed into the whole sort of concept. And we opened the restaurant in 2018 in Ancoats. And we haven't looked back since. It's been difficult, as you know, with COVID, cost of living, financially, and I could have easily just gotten rid of the concept and just pushed on a more sort of commercial aspect. But it's not why I opened the business, so it had to stay with me. So even when we moved here, it had to be part of the identity of the business.
So how long have you been here now?
So we got the keys in February, opened end of March. So about 8 months now.
And you're spread across 3 floors. And each of those floors
a different ambience.
Very different
exactly.
Ambience.
Exactly. I mean, it all fell into place without us really planning it. It's a strange one because a lot of the furniture came from the restaurant. Obviously, we stripped that out and brought it here. So when we got the keys, it was literally myself, my fiance Lauren, and one member of staff who came from the restaurant with us here. I was here 7 days a week for 4 weeks. Lauren, in and out of work, coming here, and then Rowan did 3 or 4 days a week, something like that. But it was just redecorating from top to bottom. I had to gut the bar and rebuild the bar. But with the furniture, we just had to make do with what we already had, and it all kind of fell into place.
I mean, it looks absolutely wonderful. And the coffee, I have to say, was amazing.
Thank you.
Is that something you kind of fit alongside the music quite nicely?
It does. That's more my fiance. In all honesty, I'm not a coffee drinker, because when I drink coffee, it feels like my heart is racing, and then I crash, and I'm even more tired than when I started. But Lauren's a coffee fiend, so so we brought that into the mix as well.
And you have some events here as well.
So we have DJs every Friday and Saturday. We try and book DJs local to Stockport and further afield as well. We're quite lucky. I have kind of like a little black book, I guess, from when I did it at the restaurant. And we get DJs from all over the world now, I guess. Some who are fly over from America say, I'm over in Manchester for a couple of days. Can I come play? People come from Lisbon. It's good.
Brilliant. And you have an amazing sound system here. I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about what you have.
So the main sound system on the middle and top floor revolves around 2 aspects, I guess. The mid frequencies are the tannoys. So the tannoy monitor golds or HPDs, 15-inch drivers, vintage. I think both of them from the 70s. And then the horns. The horns are handmade by a guy I know over in Germany. I commissioned him to make them. He just makes them. He lives in the. If you imagine sort of like the Sound of Music in the hills, he lives in the hills on this sort of like little cottage, and in the back he has his workshop, and he does it all from there. He's brilliant at what he does. So I commissioned him to make them, and they're powered by Radiant drivers, which he recommended. On the top floor we have added subs, which are 15-inch JBL ones. And all of them are powered by British quad amps from the 80s and 90s.
Right.
The ones down here, these are Spender speakers. These are beautiful as well. We needed to find something that could fit the space.
And the mixer preamp you've got upstairs is amazing as well.
So that's Ice Noe 420. It's custom sort of hand built in London.
Right.
Yeah,
In London.
yeah, by a genius called Justin. They're kind of like it's a DJ mixer essentially, but it's made to sound very clean and transparent. Not too much warmth added to it. I think Justin's idea was the record should be heard how the record was recorded and made.
Sure. Yeah.
So I guess the warmth comes from the speakers and the power amps rather than the preamp.
Yeah.
And loads of top quality DJs. I mean, Mr. Scruff, he will only DJ on one of them. So
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
I think Giles Peterson has one as well.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, it's lovely to see it, and got an amazing setup here. Absolutely, we'll be back.
Thank you.
Be back.
Yeah.
And I wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Talk to you. Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Well, I really enjoyed our little trip out to Stockport. Visited some places I hadn't been before. Starting off with Strawberry Studios, which I've never taken the time to go and have a look at. I mean, I know you can't go inside, but it's got such a rich history there. It was worth just getting up there and having a quick look.
Yeah, it is, and I guess one of those places you drive past it and you take it for granted because it's pretty unprepossessing. I suppose like many studios are. But its history is remarkable, and I think as you said in the film, from time to time you can go in and have a tour. I think it's once a year, and I'd like to do that at some point. I don't know how much of it is left in there, but yeah, I think that'd be quite interesting to do. And I just love the idea that band have created their own musical hub to do what they want, as well as produce others. And I think one of the reasons why they, Graham Goldman and Eric Stewart from 10cc, they opened Strawberry Studios South, is because they didn't actually have enough time to do their own stuff in 10cc, because they were producing everyone else and other bands were using the studio. So that was somewhere they felt they had to build another studio somewhere else so they could carry on churning out their music. But it was it's an iconic Stockport landmark as far as music is concerned.
And I heard a bit of a story about Tony Wilson, the great Tony Wilson, quite liking the fact that 10cc had reinvested in this studio, and it may even have given him the idea around ploughing New Order's profits back into the Hacienda. I don't know what truth is in that.
I don't know, but he probably drew on the wrong lessons, judging by how the Hacienda went.
So we then went on to a record store in the heart of Stockport, All Night Flight Records, and we had a good chat with Tom, the owner, didn't we? Who's a lovely guy, really passionate about music and the shop. And I mean, it's an amazing shop, isn't it? The selection of records in there, I just can't recommend this shop highly enough. I love it.
It is. I mean, we've talked before, haven't we, about how specialised a lot of it is. And it's great that Tom's making a go of it, and not just following the herd when it comes to record stuff as well. Because even if someone wants to do something slightly different, they'll still put, whatever it is, Oasis Greatest Hits in or a Taylor Swift album just to bring people in. But he's not, he knows what he's like. I think that's where it started from, wasn't it? That was very much the gist of our conversation, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he worked in a record store, and then the opportunity to open his own store came up. I love the way he writes. He handwrites notes on all of the records he sells to give a bit of a description of them. I mean, the curation, it's impeccable, isn't it? It's almost like they could do an art gallery in there. The stuff is amazing.
Yeah, and he's got his own decks in there as well. And I think he was really happy just for us to put some stuff on and have a listen to it.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and I think you have to in a shop like his. a lot of it's quite left field. You may not have heard of it, and I think he quite encourages you to have a listen and explore the music. A lot of which I'm sure is probably not available on streaming services. It's just an immense collection of stuff in there, and he also stocks a lot of cassettes as well. We had a little conversation about cassettes with Tom.
Yeah, that was it was surprising, but it's I suppose it ties in with what he's trying to do with that story. Is that pander to particular needs, and clearly there are some people who'd like to record it on cassette and also then buy it as well.
He was saying it's a lot of artists obviously want to release something on physical media, and cassettes are far cheaper than vinyl and CD, and there is a local tape factory that is used. But yeah, I think there may be a future for cassettes after all.
Yeah, but I think we need to. Was it Tape Line? We need to go and speak to them, don't we? And have a look at.
I think so. We need a special episode on cassettes for sure.
Yeah, I'd be really intrigued by how that works, even as a business model as well. Because what he used, we were trying to rack our brains who uses a cassette. And I think, well, okay, you used to use them for French oral exams in school, didn't you? You put it in and écoutez, répétez, beep, and we're doing a lot of foreign language in these recent episodes. It's good, but now because they're replaced, it's digital. It's a CD or it's a pen drive or whatever, isn't it, or a download? So. Yeah, I'd be fascinated by a visit to there to have a chat to them.
Yeah, well, we can look forward to that episode on cassettes. Yeah. So, as always, we can't resist a purchase when we go to the stores, and we bought something each, didn't we? But I think first you asked Tom to play a couple of albums, didn't you? And the first one he put on, I was on it. I was quite surprised that you'd chosen it. I was looking at your face when it came on. I thought, "What's Neil going on here?" I mean, I really enjoyed it, but what's Neil thinking? And I was trying to keep a very straight face and looking at you, and you were trying to keep a straight face, trying to act quite cool. And I think in the end you said, "I don't know, it's not quite my thing."
No, yeah. and that's it. I gave it a chance.
You did.
It passed me by, but I thought it was absolutely fascinating. Were they Chilean, this band, and what they were doing? And it was a sort of a field recording, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I was listening to it. I thought, okay, maybe I just need to give it a go. And then I think, well, when am I going to play this? Yeah. And that's the bit that I got stuck with. So I then had to, it's not really within my wheelhouse. But that's the beauty of that story. Is he's got fantastically eclectic and rare stuff, but also it lets you hear it.
Yeah.
So you can make that decision.
Yeah.
As well. And then obviously, he put something else on that was, probably more suited to my tastes. But I know you liked it, didn't you? You really liked it. I
did, yeah. I think I was almost tempted to buy that, but I found something else which I bought, which I'll tell you what it was. It was an album by I mean, if we had more time, I think I might have dug a bit deeper. I went for something I was quite familiar with. So this is by Andy Stott, who is electronic musician, DJ, producer from Manchester. And this is an EP from 2011 called Passed Me By. And it's a minimal ambient dub techno. I'm going through a bit of a dub techno stage in my life at the moment. I've been after this on vinyl for a while. This is the original press from 2011. And it comes on two discs, which unusually 3 of the sides are a 45 and one of them's 33, which is a bit bizarre, but they sound brilliant. And really pleased with it. But I think I'd like to go back to the store, spend a bit more time there, and do a bit more digging.
Yeah, I thought that he's got a really good European electro krautrock section there as well, which I'd really like to explore. And I think what I like about it personally is that invariably I'm going to go in and pick up something by someone I've never heard of before or never heard before. And as we say, it's part of broadening your taste, isn't it, as well? And what I picked up is a good example of this, and this is one that I did ask him to play us, and I was just curious by. I know we did a thing about judging a record by its cover, and I was quite intrigued by this. It is by a duo from Montreal in Canada, Yasmin X and Richard Wenger. And I know you said that sort of Tom wrote little notes, which he wrote this as being like electro pop. I'm not entirely sure. Well, bits of it are, but there's that sort of European minimalism that they pull off as well, which I really like actually. And it's lovely. It's released on Stream Records, so released in Belgium originally. Came a few years ago, and I think that's the only thing they've done. They're not very well known. They get a small number on Spotify, but yeah, that's a great listen. So Library of Love. You've been to Library of Love before? I've only got books from now, and it's a 4-track EP as well. So great find. Really pleased with that.
Yeah, and we'll be going back there for sure. I certainly will be.
Yeah.
So on to our last venue. So we went to a coffee shop by day, listening bar by night venue called Ōdiobā, and we spoke to Nam, the owner, a really nice guy, really passionate about the project and music listening in general, wasn't he? And a great story behind how he got into hi-fi and then went on to open the restaurant in Manchester, and then subsequently has moved into the place in Stockport.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much something you're interested in, isn't it? Because he clearly is an audiophile, loves his kit, and can talk very knowledgeably about the kit. And as you can, I think probably realise that when you do, most of us at Vinyl Club nod, and glaze over as you, but he kind of he's really into it, and that passion for that and that knowledge of that, coupled with his desire to create something of an unusual concept in Stockport, I think was great to see. He's taken a big risk, anyone opening a bar, particularly one of that size, I think he's taken a massive risk as well. But it's great inside. It's a lovely interior, and he's a great guy, and it is. And the sound system was phenomenal, wasn't it? I mean, what he was playing.
It was, it was. I mean, the speakers are incredible, and I particularly liked the mixer preamp. Is it Inoue, which I think he said were hand built in London, so you have to put a special order in for these. And lovely wood surround it. It was the Rolls Royce of mixers, wasn't it? And really,
and they look good, didn't they? They look really good. Brilliant. Cabinets,
speakers, amazing. Yeah. And again, I rather like Tom in the record store we went to. He's sticking to his guns, isn't he? It might not be something mainstream, but he's not moving away from the concept at all. He's sticking to it, and certainly in the north of England, I don't know many listening bars. It is quite unique in that respect.
No, and he was saying, wasn't he, that there was quite a number that had developed in London as well, which is what he got his idea from, and that he was helped in development, wasn't it? Was it Brilliant Corner? That was a band, wasn't it? He really helped him. So that'd be one just to check out. And I don't see why there aren't more of them, because
I don't.
If you want to take some friends and play some stuff, and as you say, he gets people practicing DJing as well. It's
I think so, and I do like the feel for the place as well. The way it's spread across 3 floors, and the furniture that he's taken out of his old restaurant just seems to fit really well in there. And when we went in, it was very quiet, but it's a place we could have just sat there all afternoon listening to the music, and and drinking coffee.
Well, the coffee was great, wasn't it, as well? That was a real, added bonus.
It was. So another place we're going to go back to, hopefully with our vinyl club friends.
Yeah.
And listen to some vinyl, and we have the opportunity to play some as well. I don't think we need to work ourselves up to that, but something.
Yeah, I think I was a bit worried, actually intimidated by the offer of using the decks. You need to know your limits where something like that's concerned. So, but anyway, I suppose if it's willing to let us have a go on them, we'll have a go. You might be more proficient than me.
Well, you've seen my needle control, haven't you, Neil?
Very true.
But with some headphones, I can just about pull it off.
Yeah.
You
can see it.
Yeah,
you can see it.
Right. Well, that concludes our episode on Stockport, and I hope everybody's enjoyed it. Click the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and let us know in the comments what you think.
Yeah.
Until next time. Bye.
Great. See you all. See you, Eric. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.